Mr.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. My views are as follows. I really want to find out, what have we learned? What have we learned to protect the American citizens so that next time something happens, we're safer? I think there's been a lot of effort by the administration trying to defend themselves, and I want to make sure that I don't get into any political questions with you. And then there have been those on the other side who have wanted to perhaps exploit that. Judge Mukasey did a piece where he said that he should have been held as an enemy combatant. I don't know if you read this. It was in the Wall Street Journal.
I generally read his pieces, yes, whether the Wall Street Journal.
And I will submit that for the record. And General Mukasey, if I recall, was the judge in the '93 World Trade Center. So is that correct?
That's true. Yes.
True. And I think it's forgotten more about this than most people will ever know. And the point was, and the whole purpose of the high-value detainee interrogation group is to deal with high-value detainees, not criminal detainees, but the high-value detainees as an intelligence point of view. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes. And so we're not really saying that the guy who drew the short straw in Detroit that worked on Christmas Day was a bad person. He may have been a wonderful person, and I stipulate for the record they're wonderful people, but maybe there were some others that could have also added some value to that were not there. And one of the recommendations that I made, and you might want to comment on it, is I've asked that the HIG be relocated at the Joint Terrorism Task Force centers for that very, very purpose, because they were not involved, and based on what you said, they were not involved before the decision was made with regard to Mirandizing. And so therefore, and when Secretary Napolitano testified, she said she did not know. I believe Admiral Blair testified over on the Senate side. I can still see the hearing. I think the question was asked by maybe Senator McCain. I'm not sure. I think Senator McCain. And he said he did not know. And I think Mike Later said he did not know. And I think Later does a great job. I'm very impressed. I think the more people go out to the Counterterrorism Center and see the number of pieces of information that come in every day and how they have to boil it down. And so I think those of us, or me, I'm not speaking for other side, felt that perhaps if he could have been considered an enemy combatant, like Judge Mukasey said, and had more opportunity, there may have been a chance to say to them, did you see this gentleman when you were in Yemen? Did you ever talk to a Laqui? What building were you in? Did you ever see any of these pictures, people that have been sent back? Are there any American citizens that were in the class with you? There are a lot of things that could have been asked. And so I think the question is, what did we learn? You can spend a lot of time going back either criticizing what took place on Christmas Day, or you can go back and defending what took place. Now, the administration announced that the high-value interrogation unit was going to, they announced it in August, correct?
I'm not certain when they first announced it. It may well have been last summer.
It was August.
Yes.
And this is one of the most significant issues that our nation's facing, because there are young men and women that are serving in Afghanistan and Iraq and serving as well, and some of your people who have really done a great job. So, I mean, let's find out what we have learned from it, rather than defending that this should have gone, or this was, we did, or tearing it down. So, and I would stipulate that as great as they may very well be, they were not the best people that we had in the nation at that time to have interrogated the Christmas Day bomber, because they were on vacation. They were celebrating the birth of Christ Jesus on Christmas Day with it. They may have been at church service. They may have been somewhere else. And that's not bad. It's okay for people to take off. And so the point that I've tried to make over in that at that time, because this is such an important issue, because the number of people that have died in this country, the number of people that died at Fort Hood who were impacted by a Laqui, correct? Did he have any impact on the major down at Fort Hood? Yes. Did he have any impact on the Army recruiter that was killed Yes. Did he have any impact on John Walker Lynn that may have been responsible for killing or involved in the killing of Michael Spahn, the first CIA people from my district? The answer is probably yes. And you can go on and on and on. So I think it's what did we learn without being defensive or without being protective? What did we learn to truly make sure that the next time, and unfortunately there may very well be a next time, to make sure that we do everything we possibly can. Now, I've talked to your people, and they tell us, and I think you sort of acknowledged it, that the Hague will be used domestically. It won't only be for internationally, but that is accurate. It may very well be used for domestic. Okay.
Yes.
So I think that's where I go. And I read the interview, and I read the stories of the fellow Pirro. He's a great guy. But how long did Pirro have with Saddam?
Months.
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 But
but he understood the culture. He understood. I can still remember the time that former Congressman and Secretary Richardson met with Saddam Hussein when he put his soul up, and Saddam got up and walked out. Culturally, that was not appropriate. So to have someone who understood the culture, the language, and the point is they were probably very good people, but they're probably people that were better in the country. And in order to make sure that America is safe and secure, I think we should do everything we possibly can. Let me ask you some questions.
Can I respond to?
Sure, yes, sir.
If I could, for a couple of aspects of that. First of all, with regard to military commissions and the support of military commissions for the trials that Judge Mukasey argued for, I believe the President has the authority and the right to determine where a person is to be tried, whichever. But I do believe that, and I also believe that the most important thing we need to get is intelligence to prevent additional attacks, and we want the best possible people doing the interrogation as soon as possible. The one thing I do think that is lost in some of this dialogue is that one has to make decisions relatively quickly in order to maximize the opportunity to get that information and intelligence. And often the time where the opportunity is greatest is after the arrest. And most police officers, I think, will tell you that that is a time where you have the greatest opportunity to obtain the information you need. I would have liked to have gotten out to Detroit. The plane came in around 12 o'clock. Abdul Muttalib is at the hospital at 2 o'clock, and we've got a very small window of opportunity to interrogate him before he goes under surgical procedures. I could not get an expert on Nigeria radicalism there to that point. I could not get somebody from from Quantico who does this for a living there at that point. And the individuals that they selected individuals for their capabilities to do those interviews. And what is lost, I think, in the dialogue is the necessity, and to a certain extent, of relying on the people in the field who are doing this and reacting to a number of stimuli that come through either what is happening at the scene, what is happening dramatically or right after the scene, or the willingness of the person to talk at that particular time. And what I think our people did, and cannot be lost in the future, is to keep the opportunities open as long as you can, but take advantage of those opportunities when they're presented.
Sure, I agree with that, and I think it's important not to browbeat and go after. My dad was a Philadelphia policeman, not to go after the people that are on the scene. That's not the point. The point is, what do we learn by that? And I think the article, and I wish I still had it, we will submit it for the record. I think what Judge Mukasey was asking for, not that he be tried in a military tribunal. I think he felt, and I could be corrected here because it's been a long while since I read it, that he be held as an enemy combatant for a period of time that would have given an opportunity for your very best people to have interviewed him, and then after that he could have gone to an Article 3. So I think it's an issue of timeliness and length of time. And listen, I have great respect. I mean, the policeman or the person at that moment. You get these silk-stocking lawyers from the big firms who come in and make a value judgment. That man or woman on the street at that time has to make a very tough, and I respect that, and I think